Hello again, everyone. It is time for another episode of the Community Connection Show, the show that brings you positive stories and encouraging news as we interview top leaders in every sector of the community. And now, here is your host, national speaker and best-selling author, Ryan Sauers.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Community Connections with Ryan Sauers. I'm really excited today to have my friend, Dr. Michael Benson. Dr. Michael Benson is an impressive guy. He is president of Coastal Carolina University, still teaching history, author of some best-selling books. Dr. Benson, welcome to the show.
Ryan, delightful to be with you, and thank you for the invitation.
You're so welcome. We had to get it on the calendar and make it happen. You've got a plethora of experience in so many sectors, and I love the fact you're still teaching history, even though you're running an amazing university that I've had a chance to be a part of. Tell us a little bit about your background and career, how you got to where you are.
Yeah, I think it all starts with my parents, both of whom gave all six of us kids opportunities they never dreamed of. My mom never graduated college. She was from a small farming community in southern Alberta, Canada. Met my dad as they were both undergrads in Utah, Brigham Young University. My dad finished school. My mother supported him through that. And then when he went to Stanford for a master's degree, to make ends meet, because they had my brother, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning editorial cartoonist, who has all the artistic ability in the family. My dad started selling cookware door to door, pans and china and stoneware and that sort of thing, and kind of found his knack in life. His real talent was that. And he supported a family doing that. We moved around Indiana, Texas, Utah, back to Texas, then back to Utah again. I lived overseas for a while, 2 years in Italy on a church mission, 3 years for graduate school in England, a year and a half in Israel. I say all that because those were opportunities that my parents, as I said, never dreamed of. Mm-hmm. And I'm the youngest of six kids. I have four sisters and my older brother. And my parents stressed two things. My mother was a piano teacher, so music was always in our house. I play the piano, but I'm not nearly as talented as my sisters are. And education. My dad was a big believer that education was that one thing that could take you anywhere. George Washington Carver, Horace Mann called it the great equalizer in our society. And George Washington Carver said that education was the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. I just think that's such a beautiful, powerful, expressive statement. So I've been fortunate, Ryan, to be in education my entire career. Now I'm at my fourth different institution, but I have five children myself. Two of the older two are both graduates of BYU and doing well, and then our three youngest will all be at Myrtle Beach High School together next fall. So the first time they'll all be in the same school that 1 year. So that's a bit about me. We love South Carolina. I love working at a university. I've had chances to do other things, and there's nothing like coming to a place where every day you're surrounded by two things. One, subject matter experts in whatever discipline our faculty choose to do, and committed staff. And the second thing, around students who are really at this kind of fulcrum moment in their life. And if you can somehow exert some kind of influence in a positive way on them to help them kind of find their path, that I have mentors in my life that did that for me. Mm-hmm. And I really call that a responsibility to pay it forward and do that for others. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I love what I do.
Well, and I know you'll say it takes a team, but obviously under your leadership, I've been on the campus countless times, and the energy, you're right, the energy from the youth of tomorrow. I've told many places where I teach, I said, everyone wants to write you guys off like they wrote the generations off before us. We've all heard the generations in front of us, I said, but I don't believe it's just a TikTok generation. I believe there's a lot in there. And I agree, you and I made it through a dissertation, so if we did that, with the goal of helping younger people make a difference in the world, right? That's where it's all at.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So, but tell us, a lot of people just think, okay, well, that sounds great. You guys did this or that, and, get to go, teach or run, people would say, I just want to run a college one day or work my way up. I mean, I mean, it's a loaded question, but what obstacles does that look like? I mean, sure you don't just, put your name in a hat and one day, pop up at the top, right?
Yeah, the very short Cliff Note version. I finished my doctorate at Oxford in Middle Eastern history, thinking the world was at my feet. I would have all these ample teaching opportunities, and went to a couple of job fairs and conferences, and got no bites whatsoever. I mean, I was really pretty discouraged, and so my cousin invited me. This is the summer of 1994, beg pardon, 1995. Invited me to come work with him to roof houses, and we were flipping houses in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I learned in short order that roofing is a really hard way to make a living. I have enormous respect for people that engage in manual labor every day, because I did it, and so grateful that I had those kind of lessons learned. And while I was up on the roof, one of my fellow roofers, I was asking him what his parents did. He said his father worked at the University of Utah in fundraising. That led to a discussion with him, which led to my getting hired at the University of Utah. And I eventually became assistant to the president. A guy named Bernie Matchin, who had been the provost at Michigan, came to Utah, was the president there. And then shortly after I left to take my first presidency, he went to Florida. He was the president of the University of Florida for almost 15 years. But Bernie gave me wonderful opportunities. And when I was 36, I was nominated to be president of a 2-year school in central Utah. And as I call my friend Gordon Gee, who's been kind of a serial president like I have a lot of different places, he became president of the University of West Virginia at age 36. And I called him and I said, Gordon, what advice do you have for me? He said, Michael, it's very simple. Do not make a 36-year-old president of anything. So awesome. I had a lot of on-the-job training, learned by sins of, as I say, mistakes of commission rather than omission, and had a wonderful time. And I found that I loved what I did, and that led to successive opportunities. A bigger school in Southern Utah University, which is a beautiful part of the country, 6,000 feet, high desert, surrounded by national parks. We were there almost 7 years, and then from there we got recruited out to Kentucky, right in the horse farm country in central Kentucky. Loved our time there, and then took a year off at Johns Hopkins, finished my last book, and then came here to coastal Carolina. And now you will not get my family out of South Carolina. They love the pace of life, how beautiful it is, how kind people are. And we're at a school that I think is just like a rocket. I mean, I'm riding this thing and hoping we can hold on, because there's a really exciting trajectory for our institution. And, for people like you that are relatively new to coastal, just like I am. I'm in my 4th year, but I feel like I'm still kind of a newbie. This is a community that really supports this place, and they sacrificed in the 1950s, not knowing where this journey would take them. But they knew they wanted a higher education presence in our county, and the closest at the time was College of Charleston, 90 miles to the south. USC is 2.5 hours away. Clemson's even farther. And so there was this kind of vacuum of higher education opportunities right here in the fastest growing county in the state of South Carolina now. And look where we are now. We're gonna eclipse 11,000 students this fall, and it's really exciting. It's fun to be a part of a team at an institution that's forward thinking and growing. Because believe me, I read a lot of Chronicle of Higher Ed and Insider Head, and there are schools out there that are closing, that are facing enrollment cliffs. And we had 20,000 applications this year for the fall semester. So good time to be a Chanticleer, Ryan.
Absolutely. I'm trying to, it was funny, Micah, when I was doing a little teaching there, my very first day I walked on the campus, and this guy looks at me and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to find the classroom. I'm just part-time guy, happen to be in town doing a little work. And I guess he's one of the official photographers. And talk about friendly, we started talking, and within like 3 minutes, he said, I said, I had a friend, he's about 10 years younger than me, but I said, he played football in here like 20 years ago. He said, what's his name? And I said, Nick Johnson. He goes, I just saw Nick last week. And I mean, mind you, I live in Atlanta. And he goes, here, let me take you over there. And then the friendliness is my point, of just smiles on people's face. So you just feel that energy. And that was my very first step on the coastal Carolina campus. I find a guy that we both have a mutual friend. So I love that work, and you've obviously seen so much of the world and so much of the United States. But I agree. I'm a southeastern guy, so I'm with you there. All right. So, why do you still? What's the passion for you? I mean, you kind of alluded to it, but a lot of people, I don't know, other university presidents, do they still teach in the classroom? Or have you seen some of your peers do that, or do they step out? Is that a mixed bag?
Yeah, some say that I'm just too busy, and I'm not being critical of my fellow presidents because look, we are busy, but we choose to be busy on the things that we choose to be busy on. I mean, I would argue there's nothing more important than being in a classroom and being in connection with your students. So if you really want to find out what's going on, kind of your finger on the pulse, as it were, of campus and what students are experiencing, then get in the classroom. So I tell all our members of our President's Council, my expectation of you is to teach one class every academic year. So you can team teach it. We have a new athletic director that we hired just last week, and we introduced him to campus on Tuesday, and he's going to start teaching not this fall, but in the spring. So it's important for our group that has the responsibility to manage and to provide leadership for the institution to learn from the source, and that source is students in the classroom. So believe me, I'll tell you in full disclosure, Ryan, the last class I taught, which was a seminar on World War I, I was gone quite a bit. It was a busy semester, so I had to be in Columbia. And when the evaluations came back, my students didn't hold back. They're like, "Hey, we like President Benson, but he's got to show up to class." And,
Oh, yeah.
and so,
It's funny you say that. My doctor was in leadership, and I always look at it as how can I really understand 18 to 22, 23-year olds, including graduate students, if I don't see what they're thinking. I mean, some of these kids are younger than many of them are younger than my kids.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. 51 years old, I'm sitting there going, how do I stay relevant? If you're telling a story about 9/11, they're like, I don't get it. Tell a story about smartphones, like to be relevant, and you're teaching history. I'm over trying to teach, we have to start, and my baseline is, all right, now I know a lot more about, what's going on in this generation. And there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot to be excited about. But yeah, I think that's great that you do that. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. I'm sure they don't understand that you're running a university and have to travel across the country, but at least, they know who you are. But so let's go back to what you touched on, Mike, on relationships. I know, we're connected on LinkedIn and other things, but I know you're a big relationship guy. You mentioned mentors. How important to our listeners, as a leader, is those quality relationships?
Well, I think they mean everything because if you look at your own path in life, none of us achieve our successes in a vacuum. I mean, at one point, we've been helped, we've been mentored, we've been encouraged, we've been coached by different people along that path. And so, relationships, you think about it, the only thing we take with us really in this life, beyond this life, whatever you believe, is
Sure.
the experiences you've had, knowledge you've gained, and the relationship you've developed. And you want to be remembered as someone who really valued that, who treated people with respect and dignity in the way that you wanted to be treated. So, excuse me, I sit in a nice office. I have a title, but that's, at day's end, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a brother, and I really try my best to look and to, when I go home at night, I'm just like everybody else. When I sit here, I'm like everybody else, and I'm no more important than the people that keep up our campus so beautifully.
Exactly.
And we're all part of a big collective team. I don't mean to sound Pollyanna about it, but I really stress the importance of respecting other people for what they do and valuing them and telling them how much you appreciate what they do every single day. And relationships, I really, people can see through things. And if you're not genuine and you don't come across as really having a sincere interest in them, I really try my best to get to know employees and their families and ask about their kids and that sort of thing. And I hope they feel that because that's a tenor I think that I can set as a leader. Look, I can be as dumb as dirt, but I got the title as president, and people will look to me. And so if I go out and I'm positive and I've got a little pep in my step, people will take cues from that. Conversely, if I'm stooped and so the sky is falling and man, higher ed is hard, they're gonna be down in some students. So
Right.
I really positive.
Yeah, it was funny when I was doing a little work teaching one class. I didn't know this, but I was doing a little work there at Coastal, and I had two little classes I was teaching, and there's a bunch of undergraduate students. And I was walking down the hallway going to get a Powerade or something. And there was a hardworking custodian guy, and I was over there shaking his hand, talking to him. And four students came up and commented like, "You showed us more about you in the second day of class." And I said, "That's just I'm not better. I was just talking to him about how his day was. We were about the same age." And they go, "That is true leadership." I'm like, "But it's not fake." And they go, "We saw it wasn't fake." They go, "You just showed us." And I guess what I'm saying is the same thing. You can walk around at an early age. I had a visit with my father, and he said, "Son, if you walk down the hall, people are going to look to you like the sky is falling. They're going, what's going on?" On the other hand, it can be a bad day, but poker face it up a little bit, smile. And I took that with me because you're right. People are going to look to you and go, what's going on? Why is Mike? He looks upset, or he look, So it's something. I think that's just that enthusiasm and encouragement, even when we don't feel it. But I love what you said. I just want to get back to that. At the end of the day, we can have whatever title or whatever show or whatever books we've written, but we're all just human beings doing the best we can.
Exactly.
Tell me about your last book. I mean, you've written, how many books have you written? Is it 2 or 3?
I've written 2 by myself. My middle one was done with a co-author, a guy
Okay.
much better than I am, Yale Law School grad,
Oh, wow.
who Hal Boyd. He now is the assistant to the president at Brigham Young. But the third one was really the genesis of that was a trip to Johns Hopkins University, where I had a niece that went to school there. I'd always heard about it. I'd read Daniel Coit Gilman's inaugural address from 1876. The story behind that is after 2 inaugurations, when I was getting ready for my third, I thought, I'm gonna go out and read what other people have said. My first ones were serviceable. As my kids said, they were mid. They were okay, Dad. But I really tried to prepare for my third one by doing some research and finding what people had done in the past. And the gold standard, Ryan, was this speech given on February 22nd, 1876, because of the vision that this geographer, Yale-trained geographer, who had been recruited to Hopkins from University of California as the first president, taking over an endowment, school had been endowed with $7 million in 1869, which was an extraordinary amount of money. It's a lot of money today, but it's worth about $160 million today. And with a completely blank slate. And he said, "Here's the money, Mr. Johns Hopkins. Here are the trustees. Now you go establish a medical school, a teaching hospital, and a university." And if you and kind of put a final point on it, if you look at how far Hopkins had come or has come, Harvard had a 240-year head start, and yet in that first 25 years of their existence, they awarded 596 PhDs, and they were not easy. They were very rigorous and ton of work. Harvard produced about less than half that. So they set a standard. And then during COVID, you remember all those ticker tape kind of banners on CNN of all the numbers and the cases, and the source was always Johns Hopkins Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And, so I was really taken by that story. And nobody had done a kind of full dress biography of him in the last 70 years. And I was just, I think, bold enough and had the temerity to propose it to Hopkins Press. And they said, "Yeah, we'd love to have you do it." And I did it, and I loved it. And I'm really glad it's over.
Yeah. What I was going to say, I've written 2. And when I finished my dissertation, I have an idea for 3rd. But all my mentors said, "Ryan, take a deep," because I finished my dissertation about pushing 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago. And as you might, so I did it at a little bit older age. I stop, start. But I have this great book idea. But I'm going to be honest with you, as you well know, writing a book is a labor of love. Yeah. And I no matter how much you love the subject, you've got to sit down and And I want to. What's the name of your book? Because I saw it on Amazon the other day.
Yeah. So here it is. I got one.
Let's put it up there.
There you go.
All right. So I'm going to read it.
This is Daniel Coit Gilman and the Birth of the Modern Research University. So
it's a great book.
Yeah, it was. If you look at the American model of a research university, nobody had tried what Gilman proposed, and that is a German emphasis at a Heidelberg University, for example, on primary research, where you hired really, really capable investigators and scientists and researchers, and you gave them the tools to go out and discover things. And then he took the British model, where there was a real emphasis on the seminar, or on the tutorial and on teaching, and then melded them together and created the research university as we know it today. And just, Hopkins has led the country for 41 years in terms of the amount they spend on sponsored research. This year, they spent $4.1 billion, which nobody is even close. The second closest to them is the University of Washington, and they're less than half that. So look at and kind of the genesis of it, as I said, was you look around you. I mean, the technology we're using today, chances are it was developed on a university campus. The Google rhythm that you have in your phone that runs the algorithm for Google developed at Stanford. I could go Gatorade. You talked about Powerade. Gatorade developed at the University of Florida,
right,
in the 1960s, and there's just story after story of what creative faculty did in their labs, probably using research graduates. They spin it off. There's an application for it in society, and you and I are the better for it. And that there's nothing like it in the world. The modern research university.
I'm going to read that book because I continue when I do get in classrooms or online classes, whatever I'm doing. I'm always about how do I take what I'm teaching and take my 30-something years experience and make it real world for these learners, because that's what every class I've ever taught. So we want to know how do we use this? I mean, what are we going to do with it? I'm like, all right, here, and I give them stories, but I love what you said, because when 94, I'm dating myself, in my senior year of college, I studied at Oxford, and my girlfriend, now my wife, for 27, 28 years, she went as well. And during that semester, I was there and we did one-on-one with professors, and I got to see a lot. We're in the touristy London. We're in, I don't remember even which college it was, but it was the real deal. And I say that like it was yesterday. That's like 30 years ago, but it was just it gave me a different experience of education. That tucked away. That's been very interesting. So you got your book. So when people are watching this, for any leader, any community, to be the local chamber, I know you're very involved with a lot of things. What do you tell your kids? I mean, I'm the things I tell mine, but most important characteristics and most important things to you personally that have gotten you to where you are. That kind of your mantra that you go by.
Yeah, for my kids, it's pretty simple. And as I said, I mentioned, I've got 5, 3 still at home, but they're surrounded with so many distractions, and life for kids today is a lot more complicated than I remember growing up. And part of me really has a tremendous sense of empathy that they're having to grow up at a much younger age, when life was a lot simpler and a lot less complicated. Still in all, I tell them, look, life is 10% what happens and 90% how you react. And that famous Viktor Frankl quote about in between stimulus and response, there's a gap, and in that gap is your ability, your freedom to decide how you're going to respond. And that's how you develop it and become a human being that doesn't blame other things or blames other people for mistakes. Because the one thing you can decide every day is your attitude. A lot of things are going to happen to you, Ryan, that are not favorable. Our air conditioner broke this morning, and when Carolina Cool came out to give us a price, I'm like, oh my. But I'm not going to let that affect the rest of the day, because there's nothing I can do to control that. But that's for my kids, I think that's the most important thing. Take responsibility for your actions, do your very best, learn from your mistakes. But you can always choose how you react to a situation. That's the one thing you can control.
I love that. I think of that Viktor Frankl. I remember reading like your response able, you're choosing able to how to respond, and that's an amazing book. I'm trying to go back. Was it Man's Search for Meaning?
Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah.
See, you just got to pull out the old memory bank. We didn't have the phones to pull up everything right then, but no, I agree 100%. And people are watching. People are watching. Say it in the show all the time. How we react and how we respond. And yeah, like you said, there's people, all parts of my life. They can get hot. They can write a heated email. That is how we handle that. The measure response. Do we go, or do we choose to fly off the handle as well? And we all have emotions, but it's how we handle it. So I love that. That's what I'll tell my kids all the same. All right, so let me ask just a couple other questions. What's a fun fact? Something you really enjoy doing, or something that maybe people don't know about you? You got karaoke?
Yeah, I love to play the piano, and I play the piano in church for the kids, the 3 through 12-year-olds when they have singing time, and that's something I really enjoy. When I was a kid, I was kind of a pudgy little kid, and I got made fun of. That really bothered me. So when I was in third or fourth grade, I started to run to try and lose weight. I mean, there was nothing. This is nothing fancy in the late 1970s.
Oh yeah.
I'm 60 years old next year, and running led to my really becoming a pretty competitive runner. I had an offer to run the half mile in college, but I started running marathons.
Wow.
So my best marathon time when I was 18 was 2 hours and 41 minutes,
Holy cow.
which is about a 6:10 mile. And I mean, I can probably run 1 mile today at about a probably 6:50 clip. But I don't know how I did it back then. But I mean, to give you context, some guy just broke the 2 hour
Yeah.
mark, which is about a 4:31 mile for 26 miles. But I ran the Boston Marathon when I was 19, just one of 20 teenagers from around the world that did it. And that was the height of my running career.
That's
Now I
awesome.
just try and go out and walk the golf course when I play golf, but really enjoyed running. And I learned some really valuable lessons. I mean, self-discipline, running's hard, especially if you do it competitively. And it really requires, what Plato said, the first and best victory is to conquer self. And
Hmm.
I really tried to implement that in a lot of different things. No task is too hard if you'll discipline yourself just to say, look, I'm going to do this and hunker down. So that's kind of a fun fact.
I love that. And 26.2, best I ever got towards that was probably my 30s. I did a sprint triathlon. And that wasn't back then. I mean, I enjoyed swimming, but, we had to swim through the ocean,
Oh
bike,
yeah.
whatever, 10, 15 miles. And each of my friends that did it, one of them had a fear of swimming, one of them was a good runner, one of them, bike. But I was like, those were fun days. And yeah, I'm with you now. The brisk walk is my go-to, do that kind of thing. All right. So as we kind of come to a close, you mentioned, and it's awesome because you're correct. You're 100% correct. I'm seeing, and we just saw it in the College World Series, the university, unfortunately, that closed in Alabama,
Oh yeah. Birmingham Southern.
Birmingham Southern. And I had people I knew that went there, graduated from there.
Yeah.
So there's other ones I've seen as well because Chronicles of Higher Education. So we're over there, and it's very sad. But then you see, what do you say, 20,000 applications?
Yeah.
So would you, in kind of a nutshell, with the leadership team, what do you think is bringing people that kind of applications to Coast?
Well, you mentioned you're a Southeastern guy. I am too. We just love this part of the country, and I've had a chance to been to all 50 states,
Yep.
5 of 7 continents, and we love it here. And
Yeah.
our location, Ryan, that's the secret sauce. Um, there are kids that want to come from the Northeast, from the Midwest, even the West Coast, are dying to come to a Southern school to have that Southern university experience. So as long as we don't mess it up and continue to have measured growth, we have the advantage of the penny sales tax. No other school in the state has it. So for you visitors out there that are listening, when you come to our community, for every dollar you spend, a penny goes to a fund, 80% of which goes to our school district to build out K-12 facilities. We get 13.3%. The balance then goes to the technical college next door. So that helps us keep up with the infrastructure growth in a way that we don't have to bond. We don't have to go to the state legislature. We don't have to go to donors. We could go to them for other things. But our location, our weather, our course offerings, the fact that we've got the best, I think, colors in college athletics, teal and bronze are
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
It looks great on everybody.
Yeah.
I just think we have some kind of built-in advantages. And our task, Ryan, quite frankly, is to ensure that we don't lose the experience of that small classroom with a full-time professor teaching it, an adjunct like you that cares about the students and has office hours and all those sorts of things. That's what we have to do and maintain and persist in. And I can promise you, we'll grow to a certain number, but we're never going to lose sight of the fact that you're not just a number when you set foot at Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
It's an experience that can't be matched at many other places.
I love that. I'll echo you. Just seeing the athletic facilities, the expansions, whatever. It has everything you want to do. If you were going to go to a big school, then it has still has a smaller school feel. And
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like you said, there's many bad like you said, I've been all over the country, but yeah, great place to live. Indeed, indeed. Anything as we come to a close that you want to say about the coach or yourself that I just forgot to ask you, failed to ask you?
No, and we covered the waterfront. I'm grateful that we can count you among the Chanticleer faithful now. I have a lot of visitors that come to campus, and when students come here, they really feel a sense of like this is home. I think that's really important. I think as the president, I can help set that tone of we're friendly. We do serious work, Ryan, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Right.
Academics by nature love to walk around in their robes and call each other doctor. When I was on Paul Feinbaum, this was a couple years ago, and he kept calling me Dr. Benson. I said, Mr. Feinbaum, I cannot deliver a baby, nor can I fix your teeth. So you can just call me Mike. That's fine.
I told it is nice when you finish that, you get Dr. Benson or Dr. Sauers, but mine's until just fairly recent. But my oldest daughter's just about to start second year of medical school. So I said, I'm more of an encouraging doctor. I'm like an enthusiastic leadership doctor. But if you need medical help, you call 911 because I don't know the first thing, and that's exactly right. I mean, you have all the robes and this and that, but at the end of the day, we're experts in our field, but yeah, we're not. I'm not working on teeth or saving lives. So, but I just want to say, I won't say Dr. Benson, but Mike, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm going to close this out here, but thanks for all you're doing. That book, I'm going to check it out, and I encourage our audience to check it out. It looks amazing. And I just thank you, even with today, start with your air conditioning, that you made time to still be on the show.
Thank you, Ryan. You do terrific work. We're really glad to have you on campus, and appreciate
I
the
love it.
invitation.
Love it. And I'll see you real soon. And you'll be nice and cool in your new air conditioner. So, all right, folks, you've had my guest, Dr. Michael Benson, President of Coastal Carolina, on the Community Connection Show. This is Ryan Sauers, and we will see you next time.
This has been the Community Connection Show with Ryan Sauers. Stay on the lookout for new or past shows with community leaders wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you want to see the video interview of any show, visit communityconnectionstv.com. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you next time.